Do you feel the pressure to grow your business, but doing so feels a bit like drowning? Welcome to Slow Growth Business, the show for business owners and leaders to quiet the noise and lead your business to success, one day at a time, slow and steady. If you feel your business is running you and you're ready to run it, you've come to the right place. Now, here are your hosts, business coaches Jimmy DeGroot and me, Kyle Bullock.
Hey, everybody, it's been a minute since we've done this. Been a few weeks.
Yeah.
That's okay, isn't it?
Sure.
That's okay.
Sure. We apologize to all of our sponsors for not being on the air.
That's right. Those darn guys at Train Retail. I tell you.
We've been busy. We got stuff going on.
That's right. That's right. So we get a lot of questions about pay. And one of the things about pay that's associated is incentives and incentivizing people. And so I just thought we'd do a little discussion on that today. It seems like a lot of people have questions about it. So I thought, let's just dive in.
Well, this is going to be a podcast with a lot of our opinions, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that they're educated opinions because my opinions are right. So anybody else with a different opinion could be, is wrong.
I love it.
Look, there is this science to incentives and how they motivate people. You can have opinions. I have opinions on incentives, but that doesn't really change human behavior and the science behind human behavior. And let me condense on the start of our whole dialogue on this. Let me condense human behavior and science real quickly on incentives. Money does not incentivize people. It does not make people motivated. It's one of the worst motivators in terms of what you can offer in employment. Like incentives and bonuses and benefits are routinely like 4th, 5th, and 6th place.
Yeah.
And they have been.
It's the first thing we always think of. It's the
as
first thing
business owners. Yeah, as business owners, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and we like labor over it, and we think if I pay people, some sort of a bonus or commission, any listener of this podcast for any length of time, I think, has probably heard me complain frustratedly so about why I don't like commission. It just does not work. It's not a motivator. It not only is weak in motivating people, but it can also create a really ugly environment very easily. And so it's like, why even mess with it? I am a fan of employee profit sharing and versions of that, but not of commission. So I think just right off the top that let's get that out there. I've got other opinions I want to share on this based in some data and science, but what about you, Jimmy?
I'll start it off with my whole experience with incentives. And it was 1997, and we were at the coin store. It's not the coin store, but it was a coin and jewelry store, and everybody was paid pretty well. And the typical review process, which was the review at the end of the year or January-ish, you'd sit down, and the big question was, how much of a raise am I going to get? And that was our policy of review. Anyway, so in other words, we just kind of fell into a system of pay and incentive that was basically, kind of like the mill, like they do here in the mills here in the Fox Valley in Wisconsin. That being said, what we decided to do was throw a little carrot out there, and the carrot was a trip to Hawaii. And the big thing was when we hit this certain dollar volume, everybody was going to go to Hawaii. And the store was set up so that it was basically debt-free, and so they had the money to do this or the capability to do this. And so all of a sudden, the day Jimmy DeGroot starts, there were people going off and going to be off for weeks. And I said, well, how come these people are going to be gone for a week? Well, they're going to Hawaii. It was our incentive program. Okay. And then I asked the question, well, what happens when we double that goal? Basically is $1 million to $2 million in volume. They said, I suppose we'll go to Hawaii again or something like that. Anyway, what happened was an incredible teamwork. It melded and people started working together, but they were incentivized. I mean, even the people that would prefer money, this was still something that was extra special that really relatively few people get to do in a lifetime, right? And so that was a real incentive for people to work together towards a common goal, and that was my first experience with incentives. And ever since then I've been playing and doing some other things, playing with and learning that you're right, incentives aren't about money. In fact, they're very rarely about money. They can be, and some people can be very money motivated. Love what you talk about when it comes to incentivizing people. So, anyway, long story short, I learned that a lot of people are motivated by a lot of different things. And this particular one thing was we get to do something special that not a lot of people get to do.
Yeah. And I want to piggyback on, I think, why that worked. Because it was team goal, a team effort, grounded in an incentive that had a team experience, right?
Mhm.
So it's unique because it's giving you an experience that we're all sharing in this together and equally. So
Mhm.
everybody's getting a piece of the cake.
Right.
And we're not going to slice the cake differently based on if you're a number one, number two, number
Right.
three seller. We're just
Right.
going to give it to you, right?
Right.
So
You didn't get to go halfway to Hawaii if you were part-time. Okay.
yeah, it'd be interesting, wouldn't it? Like, does that mean you get like pushed out of the plane in the Pacific, or you
Well,
get
it's
left
called a
on Oahu?
sailing vacation.
I mean, yeah, you all got a piece of cake, and that made that incentive rather unique and important and valuable.
Yeah.
I think that's really a cool thing, and you can't. I guess you could have done it every single year, but
Yeah.
it also lives in your memory because it wasn't done every year. It was done on a milestone. It was done on achievement. And if you do it all the time, it kind of dilutes the impact. It's
Yeah.
like, well, we're going to Hawaii again for the 10th time this year.
Right.
Then it just kind of becomes expected, which is another thing about incentives is that if you keep doing them over and over and it becomes an expectation, and not a bonus anymore. It's like, well, I expect my year-end bonus to be such and such. And I've had that happen where we've had bonuses and incentives that you then give out so routinely that when one year comes along and we maybe adjust it down because
Of
performance,
something. Yeah.
people get upset. They're like, what happened to my bigger bonus?
Yeah.
And then it feels like this negative, man.
Yeah.
Here's
Expectation.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's where this is coming from for me, is we were talking off camera about something that I feel very passionate about. And I want this to live in people's minds a bit, get in the minds of people now, people on the front lines for a second. A bit of research that we were talking about this past year came out that was looking not at unemployment and not at underemployment, which is I work, but I wish I had more work to do. It was
Right.
looking at people in America who have jobs, but are not making a living wage. So they're working, but they're not making enough money at that one job to pay all the bills that a normal household would have. Or, but that's
Yep.
food, shelter, clothing, water. Okay.
You bet.
44% of Americans do not make a living wage.
I guessed 15%, and I thought that was high. 44%.
44. Think of it this way. Half of America that's working right now does not make enough money to make the ends meet. So they get a second job. So they have to go cut corners. They need assistance programs, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
How can you blame them? They're working full time. Okay. And they're still not making the ends meet. So that's a really important piece of this incentives discussion today, because it's easy to say, well, as a business owner, I'm not going to pay them any more until they have a bonus that they've earned. Commission is that, by the
Right.
way. They have
Right.
to earn it. And I go, look, there's expectations you have to set for employees and goals you have to make in sales and so on, or it doesn't make mathematical sense to have them on the payroll. I get
Right.
that.
Yeah. We train that. We train that. The
Absolutely.
10X rule. So, yeah.
Absolutely. But you can't fix bad pay with incentives. And I think when you know you have bad pay, you'll notice a few symptoms when you're underpaying people. One, People are leaving your job that you've offered them. They're leaving your employment to work someplace else. My dad just went to the dentist the other day, and the receptionist who'd been there for 12 years was quitting. I think he said either he saw her out somewhere else or she's quitting, but it was someone he knew and had been at this very well-known dental office, nicest in town, and had been there for a long time. So he's a mainstay on the front lines. She's leaving, and he thought that was very strange. Why did you leave? She goes, well, I left for another dental office. And he goes, that's very strange too. Why did you leave the biggest dental office for that? And she goes, in 12 years, I had never received a raise except once. I received one raise in 12 years. And this other place offered me better pay.
Yeah.
And he was like, of course. Inflation goes up 3% on average every year. If you're not adjusting for cost of living every year by 3%, everyone should get that much just to survive.
Automatically.
So one of the symptoms you get when you have a bad pay structure is people leave because they have a better paying opportunity someplace else.
And the cost to hire and train a new employee is enormous. And it's often hidden so you don't see it, but think about it. So we won't even go down that road.
Oh, man, yeah. I think another reason that you notice that you have a bad pay structure, people have second jobs. I generally don't like people who work for me to have a second job. I want them to be able to focus fully on the job that we have for them, to give them their all.
Go home and relax.
Go home and relax. Now, if you have a second job because you want to, and okay, but I want you to be able to live off of the income that you make when you work with me, because if you don't, you're taking on a second job and now your attention's divided just to make the ends meet.
Yeah.
So look at your staff who has second jobs. So that's another indicator that you could have a bad pay structure going on. And number 3 is just listen to the dialogue of your employees. Are they talking about the stress of things like inflation, the cost of beef, cost of coffee? And are they saying it in a way that's distressing? I can't afford. That's so expensive. I can't, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
These are all indications that you have a bad pay structure to begin with, and you can't out-incentivize a bad pay structure.
Right. And then there are other tells too, like their appearance, okay, that might be clothing. If something happens to a vehicle and they don't fix it, there's a lot of little cues there that I was always trying to pay attention to. And, always asking myself, Tina's car why doesn't she get that? So I always had to examine myself. So I appreciate that insight.
I love that because you just personalized it. I'm giving these general approaches, but when you look at someone and what they're going through, and I want to give a number here for our listeners, and these are general numbers for the United States, but I want to give this to you because you cannot out-incentivize a bad pay structure. I wouldn't even think about or worry about incentives. I wouldn't add them. I wouldn't even deal with them until you have a good base pay for people. And right now in the United States, did a little Googling. Now, this is very, very much dependent on where you live. So if you live on the coasts, populated areas, it will be higher. You live here in the rural part of the Southwest, it's lower. Google MIT cost of living calculator, and you can actually look up the cost of living in your county through a thing that gets updated every quarter, every month through MIT. So it's a great tool. It's free to use. MIT cost of living.
What is cost of living? Define cost of living.
Very good. So cost of living is the basics. Can I fill my cart with food at the grocery store that feeds me and my dependents? Can I pay for rent or a mortgage? That would be average for my area. Can I put clothes on my back and have basic transportation and basic health care? Yeah. This is not thinking about, I'm, up to my eyeballs in debt, or I really want to drive a BMW Z3, and all that. Right. It's none of that. This is just pure basics that you need to survive. We call it the shopping cart, the American shopping cart, things you need. Okay. So in the United States right now, for a single adult, in a lower cost situation, basic stuff here, bare minimum in the US is between $15 and $23 per hour. That's bare minimum, corresponding to about $31,000 to $48,000. So again, this is a single adult by themselves, no dependents whatsoever. But let's say you've got a family, you're one working adult and two kids. So throw kids into the mix, everything gets more expensive. That person needs to make about $35, $36 an hour, and they need to bring home about $75,000 per year. I say those numbers because if you're listening to this as the manager or the owner of a store, I need you to think about who's making what on your staff. And can they comfortably make the numbers I just quoted? And if the answer is they're making less than that, there's no way you're going to out incentivize those problems.
Right.
Because incentives, when someone's getting paid less than those numbers or less than cost of living, and you go, well, I've got a nice little bonus program going on. They go, great. But what if the economy sucks? What if, what if I don't hit as big of goals as you have set for me?
What if I'm
Those are
sick a
outside
week?
their control.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
What if I'm sick a week? What if the construction on the highway in front of our store?
Yeah. Now you've just instilled fear, and incentives can actually make people fearful when they have to depend on an incentive to survive in their household. And so I just want to implore everyone, you need to do an audit of your pay structure and go, am I getting people they owe it? And look, as an owner, as a manager, I get the very next thing out of most people's mouths is, well, how can I afford that?
Right. That's where I was going to dive into, because the first thing I'm really going to be thinking about in that situation is, have I become complacent in where my business is in terms of what I'm making, what I'm pulling out of the business, the profitability, et cetera, et cetera? Have I become complacent? Whereas when you and I would talk to people about the 10X rule, and that's if they're in sales in your company, they should be selling 10 times what you pay them. Okay. So but what I'm getting at is, I would be challenging myself as the business owner. What can I do to raise the level of my business, the profitability of my business, the success of my business, and my people? What can I do to raise that all so that I can really afford to, not have to fire them, but I can afford to bless them incredibly? And I mean, seriously, isn't that really what we want? Isn't that what we want? I don't think we all want to be turning the key on our business every day going, I'm going to pay these people as little as I possibly can just to keep them around. I
I
hope
hope,
I
I
hope
hope.
you're not even listening if that's you.
If you are, here's what I think, Jimmy, that could be happening is people hearing me say these things, kind of being on this, and they're sitting there going, well, how can I afford? I don't make much more than that.
Right.
And I'm the owner or the manager. And we tell anybody who works with us one-on-one, I want you to be fabulously wealthy. I want you to have a really fantastic pay as the owner, manager, and leader. And I want you to work 35 hours a week, and I want you to have a life. And all of that is possible, especially in today's age. You totally can do it. And so I get that feeling that people may have when they hear this and they go, but I'm not making that now, or I'm barely making a little more than that. And you're telling me I need to hire people for that. And I go, then ask yourself, not, oh God, this is not possible. And what do I do? But ask yourself, okay, how? How do I do that? How do I make that possible?
Right.
And by asking yourself that question, you start this journey of going, okay, I am going to figure out how to grow my business so that everybody who works here has a wonderful living. And then ultimately, when we all live with peace and we have enough money to make ends meet, then we have an incentive like, I want to send you to Hawaii.
Right.
Right. I want to send you to Disney World for the first time in your life.
Sure.
And then it doesn't feel dissonant. It doesn't feel at odds with the staff, Because I
Right.
tell you what, if you have a staff, again, or you, who are not making enough to make the ends meet for your area, then the idea of an incentive like the ones we just described, it just sounds like, well, that doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah.
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 I can't do that.
Yeah.
I
But
can't leave my business for a week. Jimmy, what are you talking about?
yeah. Yeah.
You know,
I can't eat the maraschino cherry. I gotta have the sundae. Uh,
that's right.
I don't know.
That's right.
I'm an
Well,
analogy guy.
well, you can riff off this a bit here, but we've had somebody we've multiple times, but there's a case I can think of
That's why I brought it up.
specifically recently. It goes,
Yeah.
you just hit this great milestone. You did this great thing. Congratulations. What are you going to go do to reward yourself? We like to ask that when people hit a thing. What are you going to do to
Yeah.
reward yourself? And they're just like, well, I can't do anything.
Mhm.
Or they go, oh, I don't know. I'll reinvest it in the business.
Mhm.
No, no,
Why are we
no.
here?
What do you,
Why are
yeah,
we here?
right. You know, but I get that. What's that struggle that people have? What's the mental, let me ask you this then. What's the mental barrier that people may have to get to that better place where they're going, I hear what you're saying, but I can't see how that's possible.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think of James Taylor's song called The Secret of Life, and it's the secret of life is enjoying the passage of time. Okay. I may be going down a rabbit hole here, but I'm thinking about the mindset of someone who is afraid to reward themselves for a job well done or a business goal reached. And I'm thinking, why are we here in the first place? You know, when you sat in college in those classes, you didn't think about, man, I hope I make $1 million so I can reinvest it back into my business and buy carpeting. You know, shame on you. Grant, I understand that all needs to be done. Great. But if one of the things I think we're getting away from, especially with this tablet and iPad and screen kind of generation, is we're getting away from tradition and celebrations. And I think we need to celebrate more. We need to, like my son at Christmas time, I always try to create some type of tradition that he wants to continue with his family. And I think rewarding yourself is one of those things that you deserve and you need to do for yourself. And you need to create a tradition of rewards. I have to do it with my wife so that we have something to look forward to. I think one of the greatest things in life is something to look forward to.
Hmm.
So I don't know if I answered your question or not, but I'm trying to understand the psyche of not doing that, and I'm afraid that we're just getting too busy getting busy,
Hmm.
and it's
Well,
kind of like here's one last little thing I want to say. When I was a young boy at Christmas time, we've got this large Catholic family here in the Midwest. Okay, so what do? You go to church, you do these traditional types of things, then the whole family gets together. One thing that was a disconnect for me that I never understood, and again, this is a big mill town, so but it was okay for Brad to not be there because he had to work, and working always trumped the celebration and the community and the family and the tradition. That that was a disconnect for me as a kid. I'm like, "Wait a minute, I don't understand it. We just put all this importance on this." And so I don't know, maybe I'm just crying for getting back to tradition, getting back to, real values here. Sorry. Sorry for the rabbit hole, guys,
well,
but
I want to use that to
can you tie
capstone.
that in?
Yeah, I want to use it to capstone the point because I feel like when I speak about things like the cost of living or, underpayment and stuff, it can sometimes feel like a bludgeon to people because the society and the world around us uses stuff like that to bludgeon people over the head and go, you're the problem. And
Yeah.
what I want to instead say on that is point number one, just do an assessment. Talking about incentives in this program today, but to me, it starts with do an assessment on the pay of your people and ask yourself, is this truly a living wage? Look it up. Look up
Mhm.
the MIT living wage calculator. It's free. See what it is going on and just take an assessment. And if the answer is no, then we got to work to get there. And don't feel like it's a bludgeon. Start with going, okay, the incentive is I just need to give people a living wage. Now, how do I get there? We can help you do that. There's other ways you can innovate to get there. But no matter where you're at on your journey, whether you're paying everyone right or you're just starting that out, I think you just hit the nail on the head, Jimmy, on what an incentive truly is. And you talked about it with a team thing with Hawaii, but you also talked about it with the family gathering. One costs a lot more than the other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but the value is that you gather together to share in something equally. And that gathering together and equality is really what feels like a team. And you just made me think about the traditions that we have in our company, especially around the holidays. There's two I can think of that we do a certain kind of a gift exchange. We do a certain kind of a gratitude tradition at the holidays that don't require money, really. They require togetherness and equity. And when your incentive is equitable to everybody, the newest person on staff to the oldest, to the highest performing, to the least performer, you share something as a bond. Now that feels like an incentive that
Yeah.
I want to show up to work because there's a bond that drives us together. So there's equity and it can be simple. It can be as big as Hawaii. It can start as small as a gathering. And what are you willing to honestly give for that? So I'm thinking of the person who just listened to me talk about the cost of living. They're having a hard time making their ends meet. They may have staff doing the same, and they're going, how the heck do I start that journey? Well, we can start you on a process of growth to get there. But my encouragement for those people listening is to have a goal, hit the goal, gather everyone together, close an hour early, and eat together, drink together,
Yeah. Yeah.
pop a cork, order the best burgers in town. It just be together and make it equal. And if I'm in
Yeah.
an environment like that we can all break bread together equally, that
Yeah.
feels like you are going to take me on a journey that's going to look out for my well-being. So I will
Yeah.
look out for yours.
Yeah.
And that's
And Jimmy DeGroot's advice to you is if you're going to do that, don't make it a corporate event. Don't give big speeches and all that kind of stuff. Just let it be a celebration. That's my advice. Maybe a couple things or, whatever. Here's why we're doing this, that type of thing. So thank you. Keep it short and sweet, and then just get on with creating a beautiful culture with
What's
the event.
ironic is that I just missed a call and I need to call him back because I'm about to leave here and go do that with
Yeah.
somebody. So I'm going to drive this sucker home because we got breaking of bread to do after this is over. Remember, you cannot out incentivize a bad pay structure. So work on a basic pay structure that gives a cost of living wage to everybody and create incentives that are equitable, shared by all, and just brings people together. It can start small and then grow from there, but it needs to be something that drives that togetherness because it will drive people towards the team. And isn't that really what makes great workplaces?
Yep.
So if you want help
Feels
doing that, by the way, if you want help to get wherever you are to a place where everybody's earning well, doing well, and in a happy environment, we'd love to help you. You can go to trainretail.com. You can email Jimmy at trainretail.com. You can email me, Kyle at trainretail.com. Is there another way that I can say the words trainretail.com? I would, but Jimmy, let's get out of here, huh?
Okay, yeah. So we're gonna do that. I would tell you if you want to contact us, reach out to us and start working with us, you've got to be at a level of want and need and desire of 7 or above. Five just doesn't cut it. 6 doesn't even cut it because you'll meet with us 2 or 3 times and you'll be done. Anyway, I'm just telling you that because we love working with motivated people because we're motivated. We're motivated and we're motivated to 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 see you guys succeed. Nothing gets Kyle and I more jazzed off the phone, on the microphones or whatever than helping somebody and putting smiles on their faces. So All right, man, we did it. It's good to be back. I'm glad we're doing this again, and let's do it again next week. It's good for us. You get to your meeting.
Sayonara, everybody.
Sayonara.
We hope you leave this episode a little better than when you first began. If you'd like more resources to grow your business slow, steady, and consistently, check out our on-demand video catalog at trainretail.com. Or if you have a question or frustration we can help address in your business, write to us about it. We love to help solve big, ugly problems. So hit us up at kyle@trainretail.com or jimmy@trainretail.com. Good luck out there, and we will see you next time.